All right, jumping right into it, we're taking a deep dive into analytic idealism.
Yeah, pretty heady stuff.
It is. And I have to admit, the material you sent over, uh, academic papers, briefing documents, even stuff about that BrainLM model,
Oh yeah, BrainLM.
it's a lot to process, but super fascinating. This whole idea that consciousness is actually the foundation of reality. I mean, wow.
It's a mind bender for sure. But what's really cool is that we're not just talking philosophy here. We're looking at an actual theory of consciousness called the Embodied Predictive Global Workspace framework.
EPGW. Okay, so before we get to reality as a simulation, and believe me, I want to get there, but how does this EPGW framework explain like our everyday experience?
Well, think of your brain as this incredible prediction machine.
A prediction machine.
Yeah, it's constantly creating models of the world based on what you've already learned and experienced, and then it tries to predict what's going to happen next.
So like if I'm reaching for my coffee cup, my brain's already predicted where it is, how heavy it'll be, even how the coffee will smell.
Exactly. But here's the key, the really interesting part, is when those predictions are wrong.
When they're wrong.
Those prediction errors, those moments when reality doesn't match up with what we expected, well, they're actually what help us learn and refine our understanding of the world.
Oh, okay, so every time I reach for my coffee and it's been moved, my brain's like, wait, what? And then updates its model of coffee cup location.
Yeah, you got it. But it's not just updating one little bit of information. These errors, especially the big ones, get broadcasted to this global workspace in the brain. It's kind of like a central hub where different parts of the brain can share this really important new information.
So it's like my visual cortex is sending out an SOS, coffee cup MIA, and suddenly my memory is searching for where it could be. My motor cortex is planning new movements to find it. Heck, maybe even my emotional centers are kicking in with a little frustration.
That's a great way to put it. This global workspace lets different parts of the brain integrate and coordinate information incredibly quickly, and that leads to a unified response to those prediction errors. And according to EPGW, this is a key part of what creates our conscious experience.
Wow, that's mind-blowing in itself. But I have a feeling we're on the verge of something even bigger here. How does all of this connect to analytic idealism?
Well, if consciousness is actually the foundation of reality, like analytic idealism suggests, then what we think of as the physical world could just be a kind of projection of that consciousness.
Whoa, so instead of my brain just building a model of a world that's already out there, it's more like my consciousness in generating the world, and my brain is trying to figure out the rules of the simulation.
That's one way to think about it. And those prediction errors, well, they become like little glitches in the matrix. Those moments when the simulated reality doesn't quite line up with what consciousness expects.
Hold on, so that time I totally misjudged the weight of my coffee mug and spilled it all over myself, was that like universal consciousness having a good laugh at my expense?
Maybe. But jokes aside, think about the really profound prediction error moments in your life. You know, those times when something happens that completely shatters your worldview, defies all logic, makes you question everything you thought you knew.
Yeah, those are definitely memorable.
What if those are actually glimpses into the true nature of consciousness itself? Those moments when the simulation isn't quite perfect.
Okay, now my brain is definitely doing some serious error processing. This is getting deep. But tell me more about this BrainLM thing. How does a computer model help us understand consciousness and maybe even the nature of reality?
So BrainLM, it actually lets us simulate and analyze these complex brain processes we've been talking about. We can observe those coffee cup missing alerts as they travel through a simulated brain, see how different areas respond, and track how the model learns and adapts.
So we can actually watch those glitches in the matrix play out in a simulated brain. That's incredible. What have we learned so far?
It's really fascinating how BrainLM captures brain activity at different scales, like from individual neurons to entire networks. It's showing us how those localized prediction errors, like your misplaced coffee cup, can trigger big shifts in brain activity. And remember, EPGW suggests that this is connected to consciousness.
So BrainLM isn't just confirming EPGW, it's also giving us a deeper understanding of how those prediction errors might be the bridge between our individual experience and, well, universal consciousness.
Yeah, it's definitely giving us a powerful new way to explore those ideas. By mapping those neural pathways, analyzing the timing and intensity of brain activity, we might even start to see those glitches as more than just random errors, but as windows into the fundamental nature of reality itself.
Okay, my brain definitely needs a minute to process all of this. But before we get too lost in the matrix, I'm curious about the embodied part of EPGW. How does our physical self factor into all of this?
That's where things get even more interesting. EPGW, it reminds us that our brains aren't just these isolated things floating around. They're constantly getting input from our senses, our muscles, even our internal organs.
So it's not just my brain predicting that missing coffee cup, but my whole body feeling the frustration, my hand reaching for where it should be, even maybe some tension in my shoulders.
Exactly. All of those sensations, they all become part of the brain's prediction model, helping it understand and navigate the world in this much richer way.
So embodied isn't just about, like, having a body. It's about this constant back and forth between our physical selves and our brains, and they're both contributing to our conscious experience.
Think about something like walking down a familiar staircase. Your brain isn't just watching, it's predicting each step, the angle of your foot, even the feeling of the carpet.
And every time there's a mismatch,
Like a creaky step or you miss a step.
that creates a prediction error.
Right. And that updates your model of yourself in the environment.
So every interaction, every movement is helping to refine this incredibly detailed, model of reality.
Precisely. And this idea of embodiment takes on a whole new meaning when you start thinking about analytic idealism.
Okay, how so?
Well, if consciousness is actually creating this reality, then our bodies become the instruments through which it experiences the world.
Okay, I'm trying to wrap my head around that. So my body isn't just taking in sensory data. It's actually participating in consciousness's exploration of its own creation.
Think of it this way. If reality is kind of like a simulation generated by a universal consciousness, our bodies are like the avatars within that simulation, allowing consciousness to interact with itself.
So every sensation, every action, every emotion, it's all part of this grand exploration.
It's a pretty amazing perspective, and it gives a whole new meaning to those prediction errors.
Yeah, how so?
Well, those moments when our physical experience doesn't match up with our expectations could be interpreted as glitches in the simulation, little cracks that reveal how consciousness itself works.
So that time I tripped on the stairs and almost broke my neck. Was that the universe trying to tell me something?
Maybe it was just a reminder to pay attention. But on a more serious note, it does raise an interesting question. If we can understand how our brains and bodies create this embodied experience, could we learn to manipulate those processes?
Whoa, are we talking about conscious control over reality?
It's definitely a thought-provoking idea, and it's something that researchers are starting to look into, but we have to acknowledge that these ideas, EPGW and analytic idealism, they're not without their critics.
Oh, of course not.
Yeah.
What are some of the criticisms?
Well, some argue that the EPGW model is too focused on those prediction errors and that it kind of overlooks other important elements of consciousness like attention, memory, and emotion.
So it's not just about reacting to surprises. It's about how we process those surprises, how they become part of our past experiences, and how they shape what we expect in the future.
Exactly. And then with analytic idealism, a lot of the criticisms point to, well, its philosophical nature. It's hard to scientifically test or measure a concept like consciousness being the foundation of reality.
Yeah, it's one thing to say it, but it's another thing to actually prove it.
That's the challenge.
Yeah.
And it's one that researchers are working on. But remember, even the most groundbreaking scientific theories often start with philosophical questions.
Right.
And what's exciting is that tools like BrainLM are giving us new ways to explore those questions. They're bridging the gap between philosophy and neuroscience.
So we're not just speculating about the nature of reality anymore. We're actually developing tools and frameworks that might be able to shed some light on these fundamental mysteries.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe those prediction errors, those glitches in the matrix, they'll be the key to understanding both ourselves and the universe we live in.
This is really making me think. So if we actually entertain this idea of analytic idealism, that consciousness is at the root of it all, what does that mean for, how we see our own actions or choices?
Well, it definitely brings up some interesting questions about free will.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, if we're in a simulation created by this universal consciousness, do we really have any agency? Are our choices already decided for us?
Whoa, that's a big one. Are we just puppets, following some cosmic script?
It's easy to think that way, but it might not be that simple.
Oh.
Remember how EPGW emphasizes that embodiment piece, how we're actively interacting with the world?
Right.
Even within a simulation, there's still room for choice, for creativity, for shaping how the story unfolds,
So even if the stage is set, we still have some say in how we play our parts.
Maybe, yeah. Think about those prediction errors again. What if they're not just random glitches, but opportunities for consciousness to learn and grow, to explore new possibilities?
So those times I almost break my neck on the stairs or spill coffee everywhere, that's just consciousness experimenting with different outcomes.
Haha, maybe not consciously in the way we think about it, but those moments of surprise, of things not going as expected, they could be driving how this simulated reality evolves.
This is mind-blowing. It's like seeing the world as this giant experiment, and everything we do, every thought we have, it all ripples out and shapes reality.
Exactly. And if that's the case, understanding those prediction errors, those glitches in the matrix, becomes really important.
Yeah, like if we can figure out how they work, how they affect the whole system, maybe we can start to understand the rules of the simulation itself.
Right. So instead of just reacting to those surprises, maybe we could learn to anticipate them or even manipulate them.
Whoa, hold on. Are you saying we could actually control reality?
It's definitely a bold idea, and it's still very much in the realm of speculation. But think about what that could mean for fields like artificial intelligence, neurotechnology, even our understanding of what humans are capable of.
If we could crack the code of consciousness and harness those prediction errors, the possibilities are endless.
Imagine AI systems that are actually creative, truly conscious beings. Or new therapies that could help people overcome trauma or neurological disorders by targeting those error processing mechanisms in the brain.
We could even learn to shape our own reality, bend the rules of the simulation to create a world that's better, fairer, more sustainable.
It's a lot to take in, and we've really just scratched the surface today. But one thing's for sure, this intersection of neuroscience, philosophy, and computer science is opening up some really incredible possibilities.
This deep dive has been a wild ride. From misplaced coffee cups to glitches in the matrix, we've explored how EPGW and analytic idealism really challenge our understanding of, well, reality itself.
And while there are certainly critics and a lot of questions left unanswered, the potential of these ideas is undeniable. They make us confront the deep mysteries of consciousness and our place in the universe.
And maybe, just maybe, they'll inspire us to become more than just passive observers in this giant simulation, but active participants, consciously shaping the reality we experience.
So next time something happens that you don't expect, something that defies your expectations, don't just dismiss it. Embrace the glitch, explore the unexpected, and remember, even in a simulated world, the possibilities are endless.
That's a great note to end on. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us. And who knows, maybe we'll all be reality-bending masters sooner than we think.